Hi, welcome to this week's podcast.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
shit.
great. Out of the ring.
Hey, I'm Kirk Driscoll. I'm your host of the Cattywampus Podcast. Thank you for joining us this week. We've been having a little bit of fun here getting ready. We've come up with another name for the podcast now, the Cattywampus or whatever I screwed up and called it.
I think you called it Pottycast.
Pottycast. Well, thank you so much.
After you hear these stories, you might call it a Pottycast.
You were talking about beans and rice and whatever you got going on. So needless to say, I've got a really good friend of mine, Lindy, with us today. And man, thanks for joining with little to no information. And that's what's best. I think a lot of people think that we sit around and send out this big script and, tell you to watch these 10 before you get on here. And when you sat down, you're like, so what's the topic? I'm like, it's you. We're talking about the time you were jacked up, right? Like, so that's, it's pretty awesome that you would show up. But I hope when people are watching it, that they see true authenticity from everybody. I mean, we want to bring real stories of transformation, from pain and into transformation and what the purpose that came from it. And so that's what I hope people get to experience when they watch them. At least I think that's what they're getting to experience. So up until this one, if you screw this up, then that's not what they're getting. So don't screw it. It's like we had to change the name of the show and all kinds of things. But how did we meet? Do you remember?
Through Jason, I believe. We have a mutual friend. He came to work with us, and he would talk about you a good bit.
Badly? Pretty much badly.
Neutral mainly, but no, it was good. You married him. He had a lot of respect. Yeah, he had a lot of respect for you. And slowly, guys at Vision
I didn't
Warriors.
marry him. I married him.
Right.
And his fiance.
Does that need to be clarified?
It does these days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You married two people. You were the officiator, I believe. Yeah. So I'm going to actually officiate a wedding coming up soon. My sister-in-law asked me to do that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Isn't that cool?
It is.
Yeah. So that's one of the epic things I'm doing in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm my buddy John. I'm marrying him and his fiance on Saturday this week.
Our John from the group?
John D?
Yeah.
John D, yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude,
You'll have to give me some tips on how to do this.
I got some tips for you.
Yeah, because if we're not careful, I'll make the whole thing about me.
It's not. So
I need some coaching. Not a good thing on the wedding day. Yeah.
So we met. Was it at his wedding where we met?
I think that's the first time I saw you. Yeah, but
I probably had talked before or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, for folks that are watching, Lindy, you work at Triscapes.
Yep.
And how does that work? What do you do? How do we work together? All that kind of good stuff.
What do I do? Everyone at the office is still figuring that out, so we don't really know. How did we meet? I run a division at a landscape company, and we need guys that want to get out there and huff it. And there's a lot of guys in early recovery looking for an opportunity to get back in the workforce. I'm in recovery. We met 4 or 5 years ago, and we started meeting some of your guys organically. It sort of worked with the culture at where I work, the culture at Vision Warriors. It lined up. Over time, it's just blossomed into a place where we have, 12, 15 of your guys, either current Vision Warriors or former Vision Warriors, and we're both trying to do the same thing at Triscapes and Vision Warriors. So that's how we work together. I think it's cool because, you give those guys who have lost the opportunity to get a job. A lot of us had. I did. And you give them kind of an entry point in and say, hey, do this, scrub a toilet, run a weed eater, run an edger, be willing to do whatever we need you to do, and we'll give you opportunities. And that's been the case. We've taken some of the guys, or we haven't taken them. They've taken themselves from a place of entry-level labor to leading men now, and that's a really cool thing.
Pretty awesome to watch.
So we know it works, and it's like the less that I put my fingers on it and hands on it, the better it works.
Let's imagine that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping that works today.
Yeah.
By just inviting you in, asking you some questions, and you not screwing this up.
If it gets too heated, I'll walk out.
You can walk out.
I've done things like that before.
We got guys behind the scene back here that are really good at editing.
Yeah. They
so
make me look good.
Like, hey, we need to do a voiceover right here. He meant to say this.
Can you make me look handsome by a chance?
So what's interesting is, from my standpoint, is that in the relationships that we have, that are intentional can get really, there's benefit from those. And we've had some really good times spent together, from just one-on-one conversation to climbing a mountain together to with a group of guys, and just really from couple small group, just a pretty wide range of things where you get to know someone pretty well. And so what's surprising is as well as you know me, you keep showing up. So it's like, that's kind of frightening.
Because I know who you really are,
Yeah.
Like I'll tell people that are around you in the house and so forth, and you have to, I think, probably be a little different with me one-on-one than when you're trying to manage a house. But I tell people you're about as sweet as you can be. One-on-one.
Man.
Yeah, see,
you got to edit that shit out right there.
Yeah, no, keep that in there. No, you've been super kind and real good with me as my sponsor. I was talking to a guy I met last night. One of the epic things I do now is I try to meet people who are different than me and have something I want and can give me their perspective. I want to add to my perspective. And I was telling him what we did when we were working the steps and how you had me write to my parents and how powerful that was. And he was really impressed because that's not I'm sure people do it, but I don't think it's a traditional thing that you do on step whatever, but it's something we did and it was really profound. And what I'm noticing now in my journey is that's a place that I'm continually feeling pushed to revisit my childhood and my relationship with my parents. Because there's still some hurts there that are playing out in my life. Yeah. But man, it's so cool to be aware of them. And I don't know that I'd be aware of them if you wouldn't have seen that before I did and asked me to do some of those exercises. That and like asking me to, like when we're talking about trust, asking me to look at my daughter and watch my 7-year-old daughter, see how she relates to me in a trustworthy fashion, with somebody who was struggling to trust God. And now I tend to look at her frequently in a weird way not to be taught, because that sounds weird, but she's completely trusting of me and her mom. And I don't know, that was a real good gateway for me into something that was pretty difficult. So that's why I keep coming around, man. You saw something that I couldn't quite see, and you helped me move into it, and you did it with compassion. And didn't make me feel bad about it because it's a place I didn't really want to revisit. And I didn't even, like I said, I didn't really even know I had hang-ups on that stuff still. And you noticed it and were able to bring me into it easy. So that is why I kept coming back. Yeah.
Well, man, you just ruined my entire reputation right now.
Yeah.
Supposed to be this brash, arrogant prick. Now I'm
you can still have that. You can do both.
Perfect. Yeah. So as we jump into, before we jump into it, though, I just want to say I really appreciate your friendship, trust, loyalty, willingness to serve alongside us and just lead guys and help me, man. I'm grateful for it.
Me too, man.
Thank you. So if we jump into this, what's that cattywampus moment in your life when you're like, man, you just realized you were jacked up? What was it? Kind of high level there.
High level.
Yeah, because
we're run out of time.
Well, it's not so much we run out of time. I just don't know how much editing we had to get out of there to keep it.
I was going to say from age 14 to 35, that whole period, real high level. Just to zoom in a little bit, I got fired from a job when I was right at the end of my drinking career. It was a really good job at a boarding school in North Georgia that I'd gotten my family and I had landed a really good spot.
So teachers
I was
can
a
be
teacher.
So teachers can be alcoholics?
Some of us are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make, so this thing doesn't discriminate. I'm just making sure. So
I acted like a fool on campus and they got rid of me and we lost everything.
When you say lost everything, what'd you lose?
Well, I lost a lot of self-respect, the little bit that I had left. Of course, I lost my income. We had to pull out our 401k and live on that, and we ran right through that. And we were getting close to losing the house. And someone intervened, a family member intervened and got me into treatment. And I think even then I realized there was a problem, but I didn't realize how I hadn't accepted it. I hadn't accepted that I was a drug addict and alcoholic. That didn't happen until about a year later. I had a moment in time that it occurred to me that I can no longer use anything and have a successful life. Not like money success, like get through life at all. That it's just and I didn't realize that at the time. It's now reflecting back on it when I'm in these meetings and in these rooms that I go, oh, that's when it happened. There was a moment that I go, I need some help. And I didn't know what that looked like because I had a strained relationship with God. And I walk into a 12-step room and they say, oh, it's nothing about God. And then you hear a bunch of God and you go, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I have this strained relationship. And those people cracked the door for me to get in. And that's how I'm here now with a good life and a good relationship with God, a trusting relationship with God. But so there's those two different moments that were set apart by about a year. The first one, losing the job, and then the second one of there was a moment in time where I'd gone out the night before. It wasn't anything like anything else in my career. It was just kind of a standard night of being a fool, right? And I woke up the next morning, I will lose everything again.
But by most standards, it was completely reckless. By our standard, it was not reckless. It was completely under control. But
I would have said that's just okay. But looking back,
if Miss Smith next door saw you,
she would have thought I was a fool.
Yeah. Okay. I was just putting that in some context for someone that might be watching this.
Yeah. That's
good.
Good.
Or listening to this. That perfect. So those two things. So when you realize that, what did you do? From the realization of, okay, I just lost my job. I've acted like a complete utter fool. I cannot control this. Right? I am a slave to alcohol and drugs. Like, what did you do? What are 2 or 3 things that you learned, or what did you do through that process, that first part of the process?
I'm trying to think if I was scared. There was some fear there, but it was mainly like the pain was. I was completely demoralized. I was out of hope.
How does that feel when you're?
It feels like you're falling and you can't like reach onto anything. But it's not. The fear wasn't crippling. It was more just like it was absolute. The absolute powerlessness of like, yep, there's nothing I can do here. I need help. And dude, I tell you what's cool. The AA room I walked into, I ran into a guy from high school that I did everything with. We partied and he was just like me. And there he is with about a year more time than I had. Kind of like what we see at Vision Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just a little further down the road than the next guy. About a year more time, he had friends. He was laughing and he genuinely seemed happy. And I thought, I cannot believe he is sober. I can't believe this. Like this guy was a mess. And not only is he sober, he looks like he's
actually enjoying life.
Enjoying it and it must be navigating any problems he has. That was huge for me. That kept me coming back because I didn't know anyone else in the rooms. And I could connect with him. And so that was the first thing that helped me kind of get back in. And at that point, I still wanted to run out for like the first 3 months. Anytime I got uncomfortable and I really thought I was going to have to do something that I didn't like the fourth and fifth step. Even before that, in the first 3 months, I was ready to get out. I don't know what kept me in, man, except like a little bit of belief that it's working for him and some other people. And that day that I go, I'm done here. I cannot do this by myself. There was enough of that because I'd had my butt kicked for many years, but there was, for whatever reason, this time there was enough of that. And then of course my little girl she's 3. My wife, there's some of that's in the background too, going, God, I cannot, there's guilt. I can't put them through this again. And there's a little bit of hope. So, man, I'm functioning on a real low level of consciousness, man, just guilt and tasting hope for the first time and just knowing that this is going to be bad if I try to manage my life, but I don't have any tools, dude. So I'm just kind of hanging on. And then a guy that I grew up with, another guy, he shows up and we're still friends. I talked to him today on the phone. He lives back in my hometown and he shows up and we start kind of doing it together. And that probably is what kept me really engaged. Because
was it the accountability with someone else, kind of like knowing someone's going to count on you being there, or was it able to just walk through that journey with somebody else?
I think the latter, because I had the accountability of a couple older gentlemen in the room and a sponsor that I was like, they were kind of showing me the ropes to do something that had some weight and had purpose, and like to do it with another human being. Being on the same journey at the same time was, I guess it kind of buoyed my spirits. It gave me confidence. It was like, I'm not doing this all alone. Like not everyone in here is brand new. Like, I got a sponsor. He's really smart. He knows what he's doing. He's going to do the nuts.
That was your first sponsor, not your last. Not your last one. The last one's pretty
first
dumb.
One was, But this guy was just, he was a peer, and I was like, cool. it kind of, just like what you see happening in the house. The guys the guys that want it will run together, and then they get a bunch of support from the outside. But having that real close connection to me was critical. Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. What was the hardest part for you to accept in that part of the journey or to now? Like, what you've now surrendered to, accepted, come to believe? What did you struggle the most with, do you think?
God at first, like turning my will over, that I wasn't, I guess, going to be able to do. Like I knew I wasn't going to be able to drink and drug, but to learn that I really couldn't do anything, without divine direction and guidance.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, no, I thought, you got to be kidding. I can do a lot of this stuff, but still daily today, I realize like when there's a problem, I'm in the way. That's the hardest thing. Now, I think what's cool about all this is like my awareness is off the charts for me now. Like it's off the charts. And I love that. It's so empowering. No one can ever take that away from me now. I know when I'm being selfish. I know when I'm being needy. I know when fears grip me. And I never knew that before. But like the self just creeps in so many different ways and will get me. And I have to go, God, hands off. Like, just stop it. Stop trying to direct this thing. And the coolest thing happens when I confess that to another human being. That, dude, I'm a little scared. I'm a little worried. I've got some anxiety over whatever small decision I have to make. Confess that, and then hear, hey, dude, can you control that? Oh, you can't? Oh, okay, well, maybe stop worrying about it. Then it's amazing what happens, right? Like everything plays out better than I could have ever done myself. That tension is still constant in me, and I'm looking forward. Honestly, I'm still very hopeful to the day that I keep getting more and more. I guess that decision happens more quickly. Of like, oh, surrender, surrender. And you're gonna be okay, no matter which way this goes. Like you're good, dude. But I still need kind of to hear that.
So what are some daily disciplines, some big old double D's that you do?
Double D's.
Yeah, double D's. Did you like that one? The big old double D's?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're big. I mean, compared to what they were, you didn't have them before. The crowd back here is applauding and laughing, right? So if you can't hear that. I love it. But on serious thing is, we didn't have any discipline.
Prayer and meditation, but and that's improved so much. I'm not gonna walk out of the house unless I've connected with God, to the best of my ability. Some days I don't quite get there. But I need to read a little bit, pray to God, ask him, hey, whatever you want me to do, man, I'm doing. I'm yours. You tell me where to go. And then recently I've begun meditating, and I'm really enjoying that, and that helps me. And the meditation I'm doing currently and have been doing for about a month is just really focusing on what I want. Like it's been trust, self-confidence, but not like self-confidence, like God self-confidence, and just trying to manifest that, man, of I want whatever you want me to do. And I'm connecting with you, and I'll sit there and I will just think about that. That's been a big thing for me. Those two in the morning before I do anything, and then keeping myself open to as many people who have a piece of something that I want and getting it, and not being scared to ask for it. Like, hey, dude, I know we don't know each other well. You're in this stuff. I'm in this stuff. What are you doing? Who do I need to read? Here's I'm gonna get vulnerable with you real quick. I'm gonna tell you something about what do you see. I continually want to get better because I know that there's I continually get more joy and peace. I get more peace the more I can let people in and speak into me. And I know, and I keep looking at my 7-year-old, man, and I know how she's so, I don't know, man, she's just seems like she's got it going on. I think she's got a deep level of feeling. I want to be a good example for her. And I know all I can do is take care of myself because she's watching. She's not asking me for answers. She's just watching how I navigate. So for me, there's no other choice. Like drinking and drugging, I can't do any of this stuff with that.
Yeah.
Emotional sobriety and emotional maturity is challenging enough, and spiritual maturity is challenging enough. Can't introduce that. But I feel a real responsibility to my family, to lead by example.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I I mean, did you think you'd be saying that ever?
I thought I might. No, I wouldn't be saying that. I knew I would have feelings of like self-pity around and guilt and shame around not being a good father, but it wouldn't. I didn't ever know that I would have this level of like confidence and responsibility towards them, and real love. Like I didn't really, I hate to say this, I didn't know what love. I didn't love myself, so I couldn't really love other people.
Yeah.
So, like to
That's
love
pretty
my
hard
kid,
to admit, too, isn't it?
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I mean, you say that I wasn't the devil, right? I mean, I just had beaten myself into a pulp that, I didn't even, like I said, I didn't know what love was. I associated love with your affirmation. That's all I knew is if you say good boy, or if I win a trophy, I would get some sort of positive attention. That's what I grew up with. And I'm not blaming my parents. Let's be clear here. Like, that's just how I interpreted it, right? So you get sober and you think of what love is, like being there to help somebody, listening to them, being available. I didn't know how to do any of that. I was so consumed with myself. So to be there for my kid, I obviously wasn't. I almost burned our lives down, right? So to come to love them, and those feelings are profound. When I see, like, I don't know, now when my wife or my kid will do something that'll touch me, it'll have an emotional impact on me, and I love that. Like to be able to cry is a big deal. Like I didn't know how to do that before, I guess I had tears of like absolute fear and self-pity at points, but over the last 5 years, I've had real moments of I've experienced real sadness and been really touched. That's the stuff, I guess, that those are the little gems that I wasn't, or not little, they're huge gems that I wasn't expecting coming into this thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. So how epic is life right now? Because my opinion, to have an epic life, what do you have to do?
Do epic shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's 2 or 3 things? I mean, like what is it like right now? How epic is it?
It's awesome. I mean, all the stuff I just described about having a family is epic.
Yeah. Without a
right?
doubt.
Like to be a father is epic.
Yeah.
Like to get to guide my kid, to look in her eyes and know that she's scared to go to Sunday school, like for the first time, and just know that, like, hey, I get it. You're scared to go in because it's new, and her look back at me, and there's like that connection of like, dude, you understand me? Like, oh hell yeah, I understand you, kid.
Yeah.
That shit's epic.
Yeah.
To be there for my wife in the same capacities as we do new things together is epic. To go on vacation for the last 3 years, nothing crazy, but just to go on vacation as a family for a week and have ups and downs, right? Because we're a family living in tight quarters, like on the cruise this summer.
Yeah.
But then to come back and navigate those together and still have a great time is awesome. Just to have the opportunity to do stuff like that with my family is epic.
Yeah.
To climb a mountain with you is cool. I think.
So I just got cool. I didn't get epic.
Yeah, is epic,
Oh, okay.
right?
I just made sure. So
I
you
guess
heard that it is cool.
it's
epic.
both.
It's
yeah,
both.
I think it's the walking through fear, man. I try to do that every day. Of like, hey, yep, I'm nervous, I'm scared. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I sent you a picture the other day. I'm studying for a certification. Sweet. Like, I don't particularly want to become this type of, I guess like whatever it is. It's an arborist certification. I don't love trees, but the company needs it, and there is something somewhat interesting in it, and it's a good challenge. And it makes me better at my job.
Yeah.
Epic. Because normally I'd say, find someone else. No, they've asked me, do it. Come on, you can do it.
Yeah.
I guess being stretched in as many different ways as I can is epic, and it kind of fits. It sits really well with my personality, which I didn't really exercise before. I would challenge myself in how much I could drink and drug. I would do that like a competition. Now I'm just trying to do things
because that's what normal people do.
I guess.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
So I'm rambling a bit, but to your point, what else is epic? Trying to just engage in everything I do to the best of my ability. And let's be clear, I fall short frequently, and I will stop doing something because I get scared, but I don't get bogged down and quit. I think that's the difference. I don't quit anymore. Like, I've just heard so much good stuff being around folks of, here's the goal, and you're not going to go like straight to it, Lindy. It's just not, dude, get over yourself. It's not going to happen. You're going to do this, and you're going to meander towards it, but don't stop. And when you hear something in your head that says you're not good enough, you can't do it, say, no, forget that. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Let's do it. But I've had to have so many people help me with that because that is not the way I naturally think. I naturally think I can't do it. I'm not good enough. And I'm just going to go pout. Now I'm going to pout for 3 days and disassociate and isolate. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's not epic.
That's
the
not
way
epic,
you're living
right.
though now is epic,
Yeah.
and it's really pretty cool to be able to live that with you.
Thank you.
See
Yeah,
it,
it's
man.
cool.
So I'm grateful for you. So if you look right in this camera right here, if there's someone that's out there that is broke down, hopeless, there's no way out of where they are, what would you want to say to them right now?
Well, you can get out. That it probably feels like you can't, and that it's over, and that no one can help you, and that nobody will understand you, and yours is harder than everyone else's. And if you would have only experienced what I experienced, you would be doing the same thing. I've been in the exact same place, and I understand those feelings, and those feelings are real. They're overwhelmingly real, and they can bog you down. But they feel real, but they're not real. That is not reality. You can transcend that self, but you won't. You would be the first person to do it that I know by yourself. You're going to need community and people that have walked in front of you, and just a smidge of willingness to believe in something bigger than yourself. And that it can happen, and it ain't going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be the rest of your life, but it's going to be an epic life of rebuilding. Amen. Yeah. I mean, just to be sober is epic.
That without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. We made it another day. Or close to it. It's like, we're going to make it.
If we don't do something stupid. If we don't take our will back. And
if we don't take our will back, we'll do it. But, man, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you for your friendship, your trust, your love, your support, just everything about you, man. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, man. So much, Kurt.
And friendship. So thanks for sharing, being vulnerable. Thank you for watching this week's Cattywampus Podcast. Check back in with us next week, and please subscribe. Click the alert button. I think it's up here somewhere around here. A little alert button. And you know what? It's all right if you click and share it across social media. And let's see what you think. Have a great night or day or evening or morning.
God bless. Thank you, Kurt.